What is up, everybody, and welcome to episode 11 of Spoilers Only. Today we are having a TED Talk. We're talking about Ted Lasso, that's right. And today is a very special episode because on the day that this episode will air, it will be Becca's birthday. So let's give a cheer, everybody.
Thank you.
You're not clapping. You're not clapping. Okay, cool. All right. How you feeling, buddy?
Oh, I'm so excited. I'm so excited that for my birthday episode, we get to be talking about one of my favorite shows, Ted Lasso. This show is like my favorite, and I've been so excited, and I'm so glad. I know. I'm so glad that you watched it and that we get to do this today. This is going to be one of my favorite episodes of all time, so I'm really excited about this.
So it beats the Succession episode? I don't know if I can do this show with you anymore.
But it's up there. It's up there with Succession.
I'm gonna say, I don't think I can do this show with you anymore. All right. So tell the people about Ted Lasso. Almost said Succession. Wrong thing. How'd you first get into it? I guess we should start off with.
Yeah, so it might not be a surprise to a lot of people out there, but I have really been in love with Jason Sudeikis since he was on SNL in the 2000s. And when I heard that they were turning the character of Ted Lasso into a TV show, I was very excited because this character was first developed in some promos that were done for NBC Sports coverage of the Premier League. And I think that was back in like 2015. And so this was like a little thing that I used to watch it online because there was like these online promos and stuff that were done by NBC. And so I heard that they were making it into a TV show and it was going to be on Apple. And I was like, awesome. And it came out in August of 2020. And so I had first like binge watched it a few months after it came out. And I had finished the entire first season in like 2 days. And then patiently waited for season 2. And now there's a season 3 on the way. I think they've already started filming because I saw some pictures of some of the stars in England. So they're already filming season 3. And it's just, I absolutely love this show. And it's so funny because I'm not into sports at all.
Me neither. So this was quite the trip.
Yeah, for some reason it just drew me in, and now I understand a lot about English football. So it's a win-win.
I barely do. Sports things just go in one ear and out the other for me.
Yeah.
But it was a pretty solid show, as we briefly discussed this before, how it's just like I really don't know anything about sports, but you guys had me rooting for your team. Like I do care about sports. So 10 out of 10. A1 writing. It's a really good show. I really enjoyed it. So I guess I could say that I'm glad you bullied me into watching Ted Lasso. But I didn't know that like he was a character made before that was developed into a TV show.
Yeah, and I think a lot of
like
people
the SNL character, like a skit character.
No, it was just done just specifically for these like little promotional videos for NBC Sports. So it wasn't on SNL, even though it would seem like it would be on SNL.
Also just some jokey jokes to make people watch sports broadcast.
Yeah. And I think it's crazy after all these years that they came back and brought it, made it into a TV show. And I was like so excited. At the Emmys last year, they like swept all the categories they were up for. It was the most nominated freshman comedy in the history of the Emmy Awards. So they got like 20 Emmy nominations in at their first season. And Jason won his award. Hannah Waddingham and Brett Goldstein won for their roles, and they they won a bunch of writing awards and then outstanding comedy series. And then last night,
I
because
was
the
gonna say
Golden Globes were not televised. Yeah, they weren't televised, but we got to find out who won online. Jason won for the second year in a row for best actor in a television series, musical, or comedy. So, I mean, just give him all the awards, honestly, because it's just such a fantastic show. And I think it made so many people. Is such an important show to come out when it did, because it came out really at like the height of COVID and everyone was staying home, and it was 2020 and things were just weird. Things are still kind of weird, but things were really weird back in 2020. And this was like such a show about, kindness. And, he's just a constant optimist, the character of Ted Lasso. And I think that's what we all needed back then. And I think it just kind of, spilled over into everyday life, because I find myself saying these quotes like in everyday circumstances, like when he's talking to Sam in the first season and he says, "You know what? You know who's the happiest animal? A gold, yeah, a goldfish."
I love that scene.
10-second memory. So, I mean, I just think it's such a wonderful show, and even though I did have to like bully you into watching it, I'm really glad to hear that you enjoyed it.
That's usually how I get to watch a bunch of TV shows that I like now, because I'm horrible at watching new stuff. So I appreciate it. I don't know. I always end up watching like the same TV shows over and over again. So usually if someone is able to convince me to watch a TV show, it's got to be good. It's good.
Well, that makes me so excited, because I've told everyone about the show. I've gotten like my friends and cousins and family members to get into it. I've just been like spreading the word about Ted Lasso. I'm like the number one promotional person for Ted Lasso. Like I just tell everyone about it.
That's how I am
but for
session with my friends.
yeah, it's funny though, because sometimes, like you said, like somebody tells you about a show and they just say, "Well, you got to watch it, you got to watch it," and then it ends up becoming your favorite TV show. Because I feel like that happens to a lot of people. So, like word of mouth promotion is still around and it still helps.
So yeah, just mentioning something like that is a lot better. It sometimes it's more effective than the actual show's promotions, because when you're being bombarded with ads and stuff for a show, yeah, you do like see teasers and stuff, but sometimes it just doesn't do. But when your friends go like, "Hey, dude, this show was great. You got to check it out." I'm like, "Okay, yeah, I might." Unless you're like me sometimes, and it's just like, "Oh, well, I'm not going to watch it now." That's what took me so long to watch You, because my brother was like, "Dude, this show is so good. It's like one of the best TV shows I've ever seen. Like, it's so good. You got to watch it." Um, I didn't watch it until like a couple months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, "Oh, that's crazy," because I do enjoy the show. It was actually really good. But I don't know. It's just when you're constantly being nagged about a new show, you might not watch it. But
Yeah.
when you do, it's usually something good. Unless it's not. But that's not what we're talking about.
No. So for those out there who have not yet seen Ted Lasso, it is about an American college football coach from Kansas who is hired to coach an English football team, but we know it as soccer. And he's hired by Rebecca, who's now the team's owner, in spite of her ex-husband, because she wants to kind of see the team just torn to shreds, because the one thing that her ex-husband loved so much was this team. And so now that she got the team in the divorce, she wants to burn it to the ground. So the first season is really learning about the players, learning more about Ted and why he accepted the job, moving from Kansas to England. and some like marital issues that he was having. And you can kind of see him and Rebecca grow a bond. And the entire season 1 is basically Rebecca and her partner Higgins working behind the scenes to try and ruin the team and ultimately Lasso as well. But by the end of season 1, she comes clean about everything and he forgives her, and that was one of the first scenes where I really cried, because that was like, I've cried so much at this show, like it's unbelievable, but that was one of the ones where I really like, just, you can't stop the tears at that point. And then season 2, which just ended, I believe, in October of 2021, October or November, I believe it was. um it's basically because at the end of season 1, the team um falls into relegation, so they're at risk of losing their, what would you call it? Say, I'm not good with sports terms. They sort of, lose their place in the championship league. um and by season 2, they've gotten back on track and they ultimately regain their title. Um, but now all of these little fights in between each other, in between some of these characters, come out in season 2. And the biggest like character development was Nate.
Ah! That sucks so bad because I had so much respect for Nate until like the end of season 2.
Mm-hmm.
He was such a good person. I was like, dude, that's so cool. He was basically like the team's water boy, and now he's a coach. Like, I was rooting for him because, people ultimately, like, they just were super disrespectful to him and so mean. They're like, hey, yeah, I don't know you. I don't know your name, even though, like, you worked for me or worked beside me for the past God knows how many years they've worked there. And they've just pretty much been like dismissing him. And he's like had so many ideas for the team and ways that they can win, so many like different plays that they can work, but they're just like, I'm sorry, who are you again? Or just like throw their dirty laundry at him, literally. So when Ted like took on the chance of actually treating him like a decent human being and listening to him, because also Ted doesn't know what he's doing, so obviously he's gonna listen to anybody, even if they are just the team's water boy. And now Ted got him promoted and stuff because now he's being recognized as a useful asset to the team, and he just betrays Ted just like that, just because Ted didn't show him enough attention. What are you, a plant? Are you a goldfish? Not in the way that they reference goldfishes. I mean, in the way that goldfishes are very demanding for attention. My water's the wrong temperature. My water's my water. It's too much sunlight. I don't like fish as pets. It's just so, yeah, Nate, and then he left the team, where he's coaching for a different team now.
Yeah.
Is what the very last shot of the season 2 was.
Yeah, that was the moment that I got up out of my chair and I screamed, because I feel like it was funny how in the season finale of season 2, they were like, when you rewatch it, because I've binged the show like multiple times. I've seen these episodes like tons of times, like just over and over. But I rewatched the finale because it had been a little while. And I see now how they kind of planted those seeds where, oh, we find out that Rebecca's ex-husband bought their rival football team. And for a second, I was like, oh, okay, I see how they're setting this up. But also it's like, well, that sort of I feel like that came out of nowhere. How right at the end, like, yes, Ted and Nate had their fight in the locker room. And then, it comes back to after they win, Nate has ripped up the Believe sign, which was like,
Yeah.
oh, that was like a kick in the stomach when I first saw that.
You little ungrateful crybaby turd.
And then just how it ends with, you don't see Nate right at first because he's got his back to the camera, but Rebecca's ex-husband, pats him on the shoulder and whispers something to him and walks away, and then Nate just walks up to the camera all, ooh, look at me. And it's just like, oh my God.
It was so funny because, like, why did he get so, like, he was just like,
Ted.
the camera just like this. Wow. I will get across if you take about 6 steps back.
But yeah, that's bravo to the actor Nick Mohammed who plays him, because that was like such an amazing transformation just within like one season. He went from like you said, being like the team's kit man, as they call him, to like, Ted put a lot of trust into him and wanted to see his ideas for bettering the team and how they play. And,
Like,
he was one of the Diamond Dogs along with Higgins and Coach Beard, and ultimately Roy was a Diamond Dog. And it's just like all of that trust that Ted put into you and Coach Beard, and you go and do that. And also the other thing that like really made me upset with Nate was how he was the anonymous source to Trent Krim about Ted's panic attack.
Yeah, that's really not your business to share. He told you that in confidence. He told you that to come clean to his friends, not you as like work coworkers, but as friends. Because, I just feel like, obviously, if you're gonna work as close as you guys do, and you guys are as close as you are, he felt like it was only right to come clean to you guys as his friends. And you were like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna go tell the press, just because you're not like, I feel like we're drifting apart. You're not showing me enough attention. Because you're not the only coach. He's not going to listen to you 100% of the time because you're not the only one contributing ideas.
I think also when I know there was a scene earlier on in season 2 when Roy came on as a coach. And I think when Roy came back and became a coach, I think that started to sort of make Nate doubt the bond that he had with Ted. But also you have Coach Beard there as well. So now they have, 4 coaches, basically. I know Ted is like the manager of the team, but like 4 coaches between Nate, Roy, Coach Beard, and Ted.
I was saying, you could see like something was like switching in his face when he saw him. He wasn't as grateful as everyone else was. He was just like, oh no. I think that was just because like he feels like he's not like the new hit coach. Like he feels like he's not good enough now because if you guys appreciate me so much, you wouldn't be bringing in more coaches. It wasn't about you, Nate. It was about Roy, because Roy was miserable at his new job, and now he loves football. Football is his thing. Football is life, as Danny says. But he was just a little unhappy in the job that he was in before. So it would only make sense to bring him back to coach, because he knows the sport like forwards, backwards, inside out. So that was more about making him happy. It had nothing to do with Nate. But for some reason, he felt he took that personally.
Yeah, he took a lot of things personally in this season. And I think when him and Keely were out suit shopping, or they went shopping together, and Nate kissed Keely, and then Roy just sort of dismisses it as like, oh, it's okay, we're good, you made a mistake, it's okay. But Roy was like on the verge of headbutting Jamie because Jamie confessed to Keely at Rebecca's dad's funeral that he still has feelings for her. I think that also made Nate kind of jealous of Roy in a way, or just upset, because it's like, oh, you don't take me seriously enough to think that I could have an affair with your girlfriend. Like, oh, I understand how
That's
you
not
guys see
even
me.
that's not even the reason why. It's just because him and Jamie have this like very long living beef.
Exactly.
So it was less about like, oh, he's a threat, because I think Keely is pretty secure in her relationship to be like, okay,
Yeah.
Jamie, you may love me, but like whatever. And it's like Keely knows how to handle herself. But obviously they have a history, as well as
Mhm.
Roy and Jamie, as well as Roy and Jamie. They have a history, but they just don't like each other. They don't
No.
like each other. They do not like each other at all. So obviously, it makes sense for him to get pretty ticked off that he like confessed to his girl that they're in love, because that's just more stuff to get angry about.
And I think also Nate probably saw some of the like I don't want to say reconciliation, because like you said, there's always been a history of a beef with Jamie and Roy, but they got a lot closer to each other in season 2. And there was the scene when they were in Man City, and Jamie's father was there, and you see kind of why Jamie is the way he is because of how his father treats him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when Roy and Jamie kind of embrace, and it was like a moment of like, oh, I'm sorry because I see how you're treated now, and that's why
That's
you
it.
act out. Yeah. And I think maybe, Nate probably saw that and was like, oh, so all's forgiven with Roy and Jamie, and now no one's going to listen to me because everyone's going to love Roy. I think he was just, there was so much that happened this season.
He
And
got cocky.
yeah, I really cannot believe that, like, at the end of this season, like where it stands right now, Nate is like the villain of the show. And I cannot wait for it to come back, because I can't wait to see what happens at Rupert's team. That's Rebecca's ex-husband. I couldn't remember his name, but at Rupert's
I
team that
remember.
he
I don't like that
purchased,
name.
yeah. um, Nate is a good coach. He has a lot of good ideas for the team, and it was, his false nine formation idea that got Richmond back into the Premier League. So I find it so interesting to see, you know, is Rupert's new team going to come out on top because they have Nate as the coach, or is Nate gonna, get scared of kind of doing it on his own and make mistakes and sort of try to find his way back to um, Richmond, which I feel like the way that Ted is, he would probably forgive him and he would probably take him back, kind of like the way that Ted forgave Rebecca for trying to kind of ruin his career and also the team back in season 1. But I think it would be hard for Coach Beard to forgive Nate, and I think that
He already is
because
mad at Nate because, like, obviously they know, like, somebody within that circle had to have revealed, you know, that it wasn't food poisoning that made him leave the game. He was having a panic attack because he only told the other coaches,
yes,
and they all came clean to each other about some stuff. So it makes sense that obviously, process of elimination, it wasn't me, it wasn't Roy. Obviously, it's got to be Nate. So he was like, no, because obviously they're a little closer. Coach Beard and Ted Lasso, they're a little closer. So he felt a little, also a bit more betrayed. But obviously, Ted has to be Mr. I forgive you for everything that you've done.
mm-hmm.
No, buddy, you have to learn to take a stand. You got to learn to take a stand. And I understand this may be hard for you, but I need you to not be okay with this, because that's messed up, because that wasn't his position to tell anybody about that.
Yeah. And he told them that all in confidence as like the Diamond Dogs meeting. I love when they do that. It's so funny. But another
It
like
reminds
thing
me
that
of
they did in season 2.
it
Oh, go
reminds
ahead.
me of the brain trust in Scrubs.
You're right. Oh, that's
From the
funny.
janitor and his brain trust with those guys.
I was gonna say another thing that happened in season 2 was they had a Christmas episode, which
I
I
loved it.
loved
That was
that.
probably my favorite.
I agree with you. I think the Christmas episode was definitely one of my favorites of season 2, and I think my favorite part was I loved how Keely and Roy were helping
Are you a dentist?
yeah, I thought
Oh,
that
are you
was
a
so
dentist?
cute.
Is your mother or father a dentist? Are your parents a dentist? Goodbye. Oh my god, you're like Kent. Yeah, is your mom a dentist?
That was so funny. But I loved even starting in season 1 how they always showed the relationship between Roy and his niece. It was always so funny because Roy is always like Mr. Gruff. Like that's just him. He's just a gruffy guy. But it's so funny how he cares and loves his niece so much and cares for his niece. And then like when early on in season 1 when Ted and Roy were visiting the school and Ted's like, "Oh, your niece goes here? Which one is she?" And Roy's like, "Oh, that idiot over there." Like he's just so funny about it, but you could tell he's like a sensitive guy, but he always hides it. And also in season 2 when they were talking about when they were doing the Diamond Dogs meeting and Roy was talking about how he forgave Jamie instead of punching him or headbutting him. And he was like, "Oh, it hurt my feeling." Like just the way he said it, he's like, "It hurt my feeling." Like and I think that also like back to the Nate conversation, I think that also just probably drove Nate crazy because you were seeing all of these layers of Roy and Jamie and even Ted because he's come clean about his anxiety and other things that were going on in his life. And also when like Nate was yelling at Ted in the office and he was like, "Oh, I deserve to be here. You don't deserve to be here. You deserve to be in Kansas with your son." I was like, "Whoa, now you're bringing the kids into it?" Cuz it
I
was like,
mean,
"Nate, you are overstepping, dude."
like, yeah, I think that he should be in Kansas with the son too, but shut up. You shouldn't have said it like that.
No.
Because you know how he feels about that.
Exactly. But I'm really excited for season 3 because I can't wait to see where that whole storyline goes. And also, I was so happy that Sam decided to not play for the other team. I was so glad that he decided to stay at Richmond because I think Sam Obasanya is like my favorite football player of the
I
team,
like him.
and I loved the relationship that developed between him and Rebecca. That was such a surprise.
I don't know why I thought it was going to be like, at first I thought it was going to be like Ted on the other end, but it
Yeah.
didn't make sense because, he's still pretty hard about his divorce and also still referring to his ex-wife as his wife.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like there was subtle hints about that because remember when Keely like first went around like promoting it, she was like, "Hey, I think having some footballers on this app could really boost it." And
Yeah.
then he was like, "Yeah, okay, cool, we'll sign up." So
Yeah, I also like there were a lot of signs that it was Ted, and I think there was even like there was one scene where like Rebecca was typing and then there was like a picture change and it went to Ted also on his phone and it was like,
that's what I.
"Oh my
It was,
god."
that's what I thought it was. I was like, "Wait a minute, wait, what? Huh? I knew it."
Yeah.
I was wrong again.
No, I mean, I also thought that way, and there was a lot of other people who thought that way too. And there's also like shippers who call it Ted Becca, and they hope
I
that,
learned.
yeah, they hope that there's a Ted Becca connection later
I
on.
like
And I
him
think,
better as friends. I like him better as friends because he needs friends.
mhm,
Rebecca needs friends.
Yeah.
So I'm
And I
really
also
enjoyed
when
Keely and her
I know that
relationship.
they were in a oh, go ahead.
I was just saying, I just really enjoy seeing Rebecca and Keely's relationship develop.
Oh, me too. Especially in the finale when she gets when Keely gets the invitation to open her own PR firm, and then she has to tell Rebecca, and they're just sobbing on the couch. Like it was so sweet. But it was so crazy how, you know, in season 1 when Rebecca hired the photographer to take the pictures of Ted and Keely at the
Mm-hmm.
little model shoot. It's crazy how, you know, in the process of trying to take Ted down, Keely and Jamie's relationship would have also been, you know, I mean, their relationship was rocky already, but Keely would have also, you know, suffered some of the consequences of what Rebecca was trying to do. And the fact that they're like best friends now is just like amazing. It's just I love the character development because it's only been 22 episodes so far of Ted Lasso, 2 seasons, and the characters have been through so much already, and there's still, you know, another season on the way, and there's still so much more to be explored. It's just it's a really great show. But what did you think of the episode in season 2 that focused around Coach Beard? What were your
It
thoughts
was
on that?
oh my God. Okay, so I was watching at the middle of the night. I was tired. It was so confusing. It was so confusing. I thought it was like a fever dream. Just because I'm like, okay, episodes of episodes that focus not on the main character are so weird. Like Ted was in it for like 10 seconds
Mm-hmm.
and it just followed Coach Beard. I felt really bad for him because he was just having quite the night.
Yeah.
But I kind of felt better because, you know, I don't really know. We don't know too much about Jane, his girlfriend,
No.
but we got to see them dance together at a like underground rave.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was really cute between them. But the episode was confusing because it just was really weird. Like, first off, the man just like, you know, he loses his pants because a chick steals them. And then he's being chased by this big buff bald guy because he thinks like, you know, he's trying to steal his woman. Then he gets beat up by these other guys who just hate his team, and it's just awful. And then we meet the bald guy again, and then he's just like, "Hey, man, I just wanted to give you your stuff back. Why are you running? I just wanted to give you your stuff back. Listen, I totally understand. Um, I acted out at first, but my girlfriend's gonna keep your pants, so it's like her thing." And then he
Yeah, that was
got to jam out to I forgot what song it was, but I just forgot that fast. With his girlfriend with his sparkly pants while they were dancing in the dark, all happy with hula hoops. And I thought that was just
Yep.
it was really fun and freeing in a way.
Yeah, and I think it was nice to see an episode centered around Beard because, like you said, we don't know much about his girlfriend or him in a way. Like we know that he loves the game of
Because he's
football. We know that
standoffish. Anytime someone tries to approach him with something personal, he's just like,
yep.
and then like they're just like, oh, okay, and then just walk away. And he's like, all right, cool, you got the message.
Yep. It's like he loves football and he loves chess and he loves Jane. And that's really all that we've been able to decipher in these 2 seasons. But you know, at least he's there because I feel like if Ted had to go from Kansas alone, I feel like it would be a very different it would be a very
It would
different
be really
show and a
hard.
very different journey for him. Yeah. So I'm glad Beard is there as support, and he's also a good coach. So I love Beard. He's like one of my favorite characters. And also a new character that was introduced in season 2 was Dr. Sharon, who I really hope
I love her.
I really hope she comes back for season 3. And it was I got really nervous when she was in her bike accident. That was like
I thought they were gonna kill her. I was like, no, you can't do that. You cannot do that. That's illegal.
I got super nervous, but I loved how, in the process of her helping the other players with their mental health queries and stuff, it was amazing to see how scared Ted was to open up, and then it just kind of hit him, and I remember that one scene where he had like an anxiety attack, and he showed up in her office, like just on the couch, and I was like, oh my God, we're gonna hear some stuff. We're gonna find out now about Ted's anxiety. And sure enough, it just like spilled over into all that. And then they sort of developed a bond before she left, and it was just such a nice thing for the show to talk about, because I mean, in 2021 we saw a lot of athletes come out and talk about their mental health, like Naomi Osaka and Simone Biles, and it was nice to see this reflected in these characters as well. I know, it's sad, but it was nice to see these like real life issues reflected in this fictional show, because it shows, like, we spent all of last year, all the people who watched it like when it first came out, falling in love with these characters and wanting to know more about them. And then season 2 comes on, and you see these characters sort of, going through the same things that people in real life go through. And as a person who does have anxiety, it was so nice to see this on TV and depicted in like such a real way. And so, I love the show regardless, but it gets extra points for me for that, because it was just really good. But overall, can you pick like a favorite character? Because I know it's hard, but if you had to, like, do you have any favorites?
Either Ted or Keely.
Yeah.
I think Keely's hilarious. I love her. And then Ted, it's just obvious. He's such a good main character. Whenever picking a main character, sometimes I try to not pick the main character. I mean, picking a favorite character, try not to pick the main character, because, it just feels like the obvious choice.
Yeah.
But he's such a likable dude. It's kind of hard to not be like, yeah, you know what? I love him. Unless you're, for some reason, just don't like nice people. And I totally relate to him with, his struggle with anxiety, obviously, and just him kind of pretending like, oh yeah, everything's fine. I can't do that. I can't do my southern accent right now, but I was gonna do it. But yeah, just him, just like, going, yeah, everything's fine and dandy, like making his little bizarro jokes and trying to just be all hilarious with it, and then, no, I'm cool, guys. I'm cool. I'm totally fine. Everything's great. And then, but you have no choice but to open up about it once it hits you. So I totally understand him on that aspect. So that made me relate to the character a lot better, a lot more. And I just feel more connected. Me and Ted Lasso are one.
Oh, I love that. No, I agree with you. Ted is definitely my favorite. And I promise I'm not biased because of my love for Jason Sudeikis. But I know I love Ted. I love Keely. I feel like obviously I have to pick Rebecca because we share the same name, and there's not a lot of characters on television named Rebecca. So if your name is Rebecca, you already won from me. And I think I love Roy too, because I think he really changed a lot this season, and I'm excited to see how he works with the rest of the team next year. And I also feel like in season 2, each of the characters, or especially each of the more major characters, got a lot of time dedicated to them. Like, we learned more about Higgins and his family. we learned more about.
I loved the Christmas episode.
Me too. I think that's my favorite episode, and a lot of people
Definitely.
make that like a tradition now. I saw a lot of people on Twitter watching that at Christmas time as like I watch, oh, you guys watch Home Alone or Elf at Christmas? No, I watch Carol of the Bells, season 2, episode 4, Ted Lasso.
It was such
Which
a
I
fun
will
and
do that.
heartwarming episode. I loved it. Just seeing a softer side of Rebecca was such a really nice touch.
Mm-hmm. And
And
she's
then
also like
obviously
an amazing
the players.
singer.
Hmm?
She's an amazing singer.
I also really loved Nora, her goddaughter. I thought she was absolutely hilarious and just such a great little sidekick with her in the office. My favorite scene was them like composing the email to the guy. Like, hey.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
It was such a fun scene because I don't know. Obviously, Rebecca's like the cool aunt, so she gets away with a lot more with her. So it was just more fun for her. So it just, I like the relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you on that. I hope we see more of Nora and Sassy in season 3 because I feel like Sassy was only in like 1 or 2 episodes. I think in season
2 or 3,
1, and then in season 2, I think it was like So she's only been in it like a handful of times, but I mean, it's so funny, and it's also interesting to see how the relationship developed between her and Ted too, and like there's that aspect of the show now. I mean, I just love how it's just the writers are so great because all of these characters kind of are interwebbed with each other, and it's like amazing. And I also wanted to mention the scene in season 1. I think it was episode 5 or 6. I want to say it was like the middle of season 1 where they go out to celebrate their big win, and Ted has a panic attack at the karaoke bar. And that was like when Rebecca like ran outside after her song and like comforted him. That was like, I just thought that was so amazing, and the way that they depicted like Ted's anxiety attack, it was like they did such a great job of depicting like how that
some one-off thing, or it's more important to his character. So I do appreciate how they handled that as well.
Yeah. And also there was another scene in season 1 that always gets me when him and his wife are like departing, and she and their son are going back home.
I hate that lady.
I know. Basically how they kind of break up at that moment outside at night, and just to see like the emotion in his face, it was just so like, it was so much.
I still don't get why they had the divorce. Like, just because you feel like you're not in the honeymoon phase anymore, you gotta divorce him. That just means you didn't really love him.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, man. What were those wedding vows? The sickness and in health. You gotta work through the ups and the downs if you can't. But then again, like, they went through couples therapy and it just wasn't like for them. But I feel like if they really wanted it to work out, they would have put forth more effort. Maybe. I know it's a little weird for me to say that because I'm not in a marriage, and I don't have marital problems, so I can't exactly say it's just that easy. But I don't know.
Yeah.
And she was so like demanding, like, hey, I want a divorce. She wasn't like rude with it, but she was just very up his butt about it. Where she's like, I want a divorce. Sorry, buddy. But like, did you sign those divorce papers? Did you sign those divorce papers? Can you fax them to me like as soon as possible? Like, I understand that you're busy and you're at work, but like, can you fax those divorce papers back to me? In fact, you know what? Don't even fax them. You can just take a picture of them and then just send them to me.
Yeah. Right? That was a lot. And also I remember that scene where they were it was like they were celebrating their win, and it was just she kept bombarding him about it, like, hey, just like you said. And that's what I was going to say, is it was so insane, because it's like you're already, you're getting enough distance from him because he's like 4,000 miles away in England. He's like across the pond, but it's got to be done now. And it's like, does she remember time zones? Like, what if he was sleeping? What if he was at work?
And also, he was trying to get it done. It just wasn't, working out like that, because the hotel they were at didn't have a fax machine available for him to use. And then she was just like, I don't care.
While he was there.
Get me those copies of... You crazy lady.
Exactly. It's like, while he's there trying to party because they won a game that they hadn't won in a long time, you're making him run around looking for fax machines, and it's 2020 in season 1. It was 2020. So where are you going to find a fax machine in 2020?
Office buildings. FedEx, but it's... I don't know if they have those outside the US.
Yeah.
But yeah, she just was very, I don't know, really weird about having a divorce. And just like, okay, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope we get to see. And also, they have a son together. What's your son? I know obviously they didn't tell him, because he's still very happy, and he's not like, oh God, you're not. So I just want to know how they're gonna break the news to their son. And also, that's just really unfortunate. So another thing that I wanted to just briefly talk about was just how I cannot stand Roy Kent. How do you feel about Roy?
Overall, I love Roy. I was really happy to see his character demeanor change a bit in season 2. He bugged me in the first season. I have to be honest about that. Him and Jamie really bothered me. And you could just tell he was kind of angry all the time, but it was kind of sweet how even through all of that, Keeley and Roy kind of fell for each other. In the event that her and Jamie weren't on good terms, it was nice to see how Roy and Keeley sort of fell for each other, and then how their relationship kind of really blossomed going into season 2.
I just can't stand Roy because he's just so angry all the time. I do like the change that he's going through, and how he's, we are seeing more of a softer side of him and more of like vulnerable, especially with Keeley, rather than just being this angry butthead all the time. But he frustrates me because he's just like, oh, instead of speaking, he just... Are you a bear? Are you a bear? Please. He's just that's I just cannot stand him, just because he's just always grunting. He's so upset. He's just very annoying.
Yeah.
But I do
and it's like
the change he's going through.
There was that scene of him trying to get into the stadium, and he was at the ticket counter, and the little boy was next to him, and he's like, oh, are you Roy Kent? And he just looks over and is like, grr. And then the boy is like, ha ha. Like, it's just known that he's just Mr. Grumbles. It's so funny.
Yeah, I don't like him just because he's so angry. Other than that, he's cool. Like I said, I like the, him being okay with feelings. So,
Mm-hmm.
And also, I know I've mentioned to you, this is so dumb, how it's kind of like, part of it reminded me like of Glee.
Oh yes, I was.
It was mostly it was mostly the season 1 finale, because in the season 1 finale, they don't win the game. They lose, and they're like, oh, that just means we'll just try twice as hard next season.
Yeah.
That's what happens at the end of Glee season 1. They don't win. I think it was regionals.
Mm-hmm.
They lose regionals, and they're like, oh no, our Glee club is gonna like have to disband. But they're like, no, we got one more year, guys. We'll just try twice as hard next year. So yeah, even though they lose, they feel like they're gonna win eventually. It was literally
Yeah.
just that. That was it.
No, that's a good comparison, because it has been years since I've seen Glee. I used to watch it like all the time. But I
It's
like completely
unfortunately
forgot about
my
that.
favorite show.
I completely forgot about like how season 1 was, and now that I think about it, you really have a point there. It's like definitely similar with the way that like regionals was for Glee, for how like the facing regulation as the football league. It's really similar, but I also love how in Ted Lasso there are so many times where you see them prepare for a game, and then if they end up losing that game, you know, it's not that they win all of the time. It's such a realistic show, because it's like, you know, you're not going to win all the time. You're going to win some, but you're going to lose some. And I just love how they really kept it honest with like how sports really is, and like just how life is in general. It's such a good like metaphor for life too. And it's just how they keep it honest, and you know, you really think at the end of season 1 they're going to win, but then they lose last minute and they face relegation, and they kind of put you through that roller coaster of emotions. And so that's just another reason why I just love Ted Lasso. I have many reasons. Some of them we talked about today, but the end of the story is I just love Ted Lasso.
I just wanna, before we finish this out, you have any special birthday plans?
Well, this is just going to be a chill birthday. I'm not one to kind of want to go all out for birthdays and stuff like that. I still feel kind of funny when people sing happy birthday to me. So
Oh,
I'm
I
one of
always
those
do.
people. Yeah. um but no, I just planning on, you know, a nice dinner and some cake, and um just, you know, spending time with family, and who knows, maybe even rewatching Ted Lasso for like the 100th time. Um, but before we do go, I wanted to give a shout out to an organization that I actually became familiar with because of Jason Sudeikis. It's called the Steps of Faith Foundation, and it's based out of Kansas City. Um, and they work to help provide prosthetics for people who can't afford them. And I first learned about them through the Thunder Gong benefit concert that Jason has put on for like the past 5 years. And I attended the virtual one back in November, and it was so funny. There's like funny comedians there and musical duets, and even like Jason does songs as well. And it's such a fun night. And they do such important work, the Steps of Faith Foundation. So if anyone out there is able to donate or could just share their message and what they do, that would be like a great birthday present to me, is just to spread the word about them.
That's a cool thing. So, is Jason Sudeikis from Kansas as well?
Yes. He
Okay,
was actually,
that was
he was born in Virginia, but when he was young, his family moved to Overland Park, Kansas, and so he split time between like Overland Park, Kansas, and then Kansas City, Missouri. So that's always like he's just like a Kansas boy. So, and there's a lot of like similarities between him and Ted as well, and I love that. Like I love that in the show, like how Kansas is such a big part of Ted's character and all that.
how cool. Well, I'd say that pretty much wraps everything up, though. Yeah,
Yeah, this was such a
I,
fun
I say fun
time.
as always.
as always, I loved being able to talk about Ted Lasso with you, and I'm so excited for season 3 as well because
Do
I
you know
know
when
it's
it's
going
coming
to
out,
be.
or you said they were filming it now, right?
Yes, I'm pretty certain. I saw a photo of Jason and Brendan Hunt, who plays Coach Beard, and I saw a picture of them on a plane going to England. So I'm sure they're getting ready to film, and I think probably by summer we should have something because season 2 came out last July, and the previous year in 2020 it was August of 2020. So hopefully by summer we shall be
So
enjoying
late summer around
season
that time.
3. Probably,
Understandable.
yeah.
Cool. Well, I definitely will be watching. So thank you for bullying me into watching this.
Oh, I'm
um,
so glad.
well, I guess that pretty much wraps up our discussion, our TED Talk, as you put it at the beginning. So, you want to sign us off?
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Spoilers Only. You can follow us on Twitter at SpoilersOnlyDuh to find our link tree, which contains all the links in order for you to stream the show. You can find us on all major podcast platforms and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We post there all our episodes as well. Share with a friend, share with a family member.
Follow us on Twitter for dumb things I like to post from the account. Usually between the hours of 2 and 4 a.m.
And this has been Spoilers Only.